News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, and good morning. Welcome everyone to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you, and I'm glad you're here with us. We do have a great show planned for you today, coming at you live from the portable studio here, all part of Laurentian University's campus and community radio station that is located in downtown Sudbury on the corner of Elgin and Elm Street. Laurentian University's campus community radio station, been around since 1984. Hasn't always broadcasted from that location, though. It's in the old Telegraph building in the new MacEwan School of Architecture, all under the umbrella of Laurentian University. And the views and the opinions expressed on the show by either the host, guests, or commenters are that of the host, guest, and commenters, and their words alone and their views alone. They don't necessarily reflect that of Laurentian University or those of CKLU volunteers or staff. So welcome, 96.7 FM, CKLU, on the air, also streaming online. You click on the Radio Player Canada app at cklu.ca, and you can stream us. You can also download the same Radio Player Canada app and take us with you and listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. So we have a really great show planned for you today. Make sure to like, share. And I'm not sure why the comments are not coming up today here. So I won't be able to get comments up on the screen. And I might not even be able to read them, for crying out loud. I'll do my best as I see them on the big screen over here. So that's all I can promise. I can't control technology. It is what it is. I'll have to obviously give my device a reboot. So it is, that's today's technical glitch. We have to have something every day, something new. So with that, let's just dive into the show today. We got started with some weather. We have a lot of local news to talk about, including the Domtar shutdown. There's more on that. There's more on the recycling of the asphalt recycling company that came to Sudbury and was asked to halt operations and leave and come back if the test the city did on the asphalt indeed was positive. They could come back, and so indeed the results were it was subpar, and so said to the company, no, we can do our own subpar work. We don't need another company to do that. And so they will not be doing any more work on the Kingsway or any other place in Sudbury at the moment. But they got together and had a bit of a town hall last night. So there's a little bit of update on that and what came out of the meeting. So there's that. Then there's the continuation of our expose, our series that we have on Jordan Peterson's fight with the College of Psychologists, Ontario College of Psychologists, and they're wanting to mandate him to take re-education on how to speak online. So there is a definite attack on free speech in Canada coming through Bill C-11, Bill C-18, the Online News Act, and through basically private associations not not wanting people doing all they can to cut out free speech in the country. And it is pretty dangerous when you start seeing signs of that. It's a sign of something to come, or could be, and you need to squash it before it gets out of hand. And so Jordan Peterson is leading the fight on that, and we'll have more on that, his explanation of why we are where we are, and it could be rooted in a Marxist movement, packaged as postmodernists, and what postmodernists are, how they got into our society and infiltrated everything, hijacked pretty much every institution. So the point right now, everything's running rampant. It is systemic, and we are seeing the results of that in the world you live in. If you wake up today compared to 30 years ago and you're wondering why things aren't as good as they are, that could be a reason why. And that's a good time to shut down free speech, people being able to say that, because then people could wake up to the fact of what's going on, and that's not a good thing for those people who want to have that particular ideology run rampant and take control of everything. So here we are, and we're in a fight. And what does all that mean? We'll have a special segment for you towards the end. I promise it'll be good if you want to stick around for that. But in the meantime, let's get started with a little bit of weather and local headlines. And for those who are from Sudbury and area, you'll want to stick around for that. And if you're not from Sudbury and you're from around the world, let's say, or just not Sudbury, Ontario, or Canada, United States, the world, just the last segment of the show will definitely be interesting to you as well. So let's get started with a little bit of weather, local weather from Sudbury, and then we'll be back right after this. Today's theme is you have to love technology. So looking over at the big screen, I can see a few of us joining on already and commenting. Usually I have comments coming right up on my device in front of me, and it's not easy to read them because my eyes are going. But anyways, it's easier to see them and read them and get them spoken of so people on the radio can hear them, and then get them up on the screen so people watching after can see all the comments, because comments are edited after the video goes into on demand. And for some reason, Facebook just takes out certain comments. Not sure what the rhyme or reason is for taking out certain comments. I don't have the answer for that. But today I won't be able to put the comments up on the screen. So a bit of a disclaimer there. Currently it's 8 degrees. It's mostly cloudy in Greater Sudbury. Today you can expect it to be overcast, mild wind, and the high of 16, UV index is 2, or low tonight, cloudy, fog patches developing after midnight, or low of 9. Saturday, mainly cloudy, clearing late in the morning, fog patches dissipating in the morning, then a high of 21. As you can see, it's going to be supposed to be anyways a good weekend. There are a few clouds in the morning on Saturday, but other than that, it'll be clearing, high of 21. Same thing for Sunday, but it will be a sunny Sunday through and through, according to Environment Canada. High of 21 as well. Now, Monday, they're calling for a 40% chance of showers, all the way to Wednesday, all 40% chance of showers, and either 16 or 17, right in that range. And then it's 60% chance of showers on Thursday with a high of 19. So look at your satellite. When did we get this? So this was yesterday. So let's see if we can get something a little bit more current than that. See if we get something on the 8th, which we may not. And no. So we're pretty much looking at 11 o'clock. So last night. Anyways, that's the latest that we have access to. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with local headlines, other issues and stories, and our deep dive into free speech in Canada when we come back right after this. And just for the record, welcome back, everyone. But just for the record, it is Friday today. So that's good for some of us. There's a dark cloud over us, not only literally, but with the looming shutdown of a major employer in the area, a lot of people's lives are going to be affected, and a lot of spin-off and ripple effects will happen with a lot of other job losses, and a lot of lives will be up in upheaval because people will have to get other jobs in other areas and may not stick around here locally, and so that will impact our area very much so. And so it's not cool, and it is what it is. We'll have to make the best of it, and the people that are going through it will have to band together and do what we can, and stay positive and look at solutions, whatever those may be. But we'll have more on that coming up a little bit later. And but first, we have several people joining us. I'm going to do my best. Like I said, today is going to be not the easiest to get people's comments on the show. Monique, good morning. Sudbury, yeah, I can see from here you have a sunshine emoji with a nice smiley face. Judy, good morning. Thanks for being with us on this Friday. Belinda, good morning. We are only as strong as we are united and as weak as we are divided. That's true. That's a play on the whole divided we fall, together we stand, divided we fall kind of thing, which is like the oldest trick in the book for like war tactics. And if you see a society that's divided, you could almost be rest assured there's other fingers in the pot stirring it up and making sure that it's divided, because there's agendas at play and there's people who benefit from making a society, a community, a country divided. And other people can come in and take advantage of the division. And it's just something that is a fact. It's a war tactic. It always has been. If you can get a society to crumble from within, and you can use tactics in order to do that, you don't have to use a bullet. You don't have to use any, you don't have to lose any lives, as you would basically in a war situation, a hand-to-hand combat, whatever. So, yeah, but I like that saying. It's very positive. I didn't mean to put a damper on the positiveness about it. Mona, good morning. Thanks for being with us. And looks like Dre. And again, today, I appreciate you. It says Grand Rising. Thanks for being with us this morning. Pauline, good morning. Thank TGIF for sure. Thanks for, we'll see you a little bit later. It's going to be an awesome day today. Good morning, Sudbury campers. Brian, I got your text this morning. I really appreciate that. And on most days, I would have taken you up on your offer. Today's show, unfortunately, I don't even know if I'm going to have enough time to get through everything. So I will take you up on your offer, though. You have my word on that. Tracy, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you as well. Random thought. This is Brian. Why is Monday so far away from Friday, but Friday is so close to Monday? I don't know. Isn't it? Wouldn't it be the opposite to that? But yeah, a lot of people live for the weekend, just like Loverboy said, right? Everyone's working for the weekend. Apparently, that song was supposed to be titled a different title, and it was just by accident. That everybody's working for something. It was a different word, and I forget what it was now. I just saw an interview with the lead singer of Loverboy, and it just wouldn't have been the same. It would not have been a hit. You can just tell by, I forget what it was, but, and then just they stumbled upon weekend. Everyone's working for the weekend. It was like, wow, it became an anthem, and so true in so many cases, right? Victoria, good morning and happy Friday with a sunshine smiley face emoji. Very good. Stephen, good morning. Hope you're having a great morning. Got to get Dunder Muffin. Sorry. Dunder Mifflin to Domtar to sell some paper. There you go. Sorry to say, but your conspiracy stuff is cynical skepticism, part of that division. Okay. I could also wonder what exactly you mean by that, but conspiratorial stuff is part of division. I don't know. I'm basically asking questions and trying to figure out the world I live in. If that's conspiratorial, well, then I'm guilty of it, but just trying to figure out what exactly is happening. We don't know yet. We just appointed a new, someone new to look over the allegations of Chinese interference. And now they've upped the ante to look into any interference. And why would they do that? If there's no interference at all, why would they say, oh, we need to be looking for other countries that interfere in our elections too, not just China? And then China came out and said, oh, yeah, you do that and you will suffer the consequences. And what exactly does that mean? Right? And if that's conspiratorial, I don't know. But that pretty much sums it up. Something's going on. CSIS, leaked documents, the terrible handling of looking into it by the powers that be, showing something's up. Obviously, what it is, I don't know. It's not conspiratorial to say something's up, right? Like, doesn't everybody in Canada know? Can't you? Like, if fall's coming, is it conspiratorial to say, I think I see leaves changing on the trees, which I actually do right now as I'm looking out the window. I know winter's coming. I just don't know when. Is that conspiratorial? Like, something's up. I sense things are changing. Something's going on. Okay? And you can speculate. Does that create division to just try and find out what's going on? I don't know. Just trying to get to the bottom of things. And if someone has an answer to something and is able to show that, that's exactly what I'm after. So I don't see how that's a problem. But some people could look at it like that. Even without evidentiary support, you will guess that someone somewhere is conspiring against people. I know it's a fact that people are conspiring against people. It's history repeats itself 100%. And there's always factions that are after absolute power in the world. And if someone has more power than them, you can be darn rest assured someone else is plotting how they can get the power. You know, it's not like Scarface. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the woman. It's not like that. First you make a plan and you then find the right people to work with you, and then you go to town trying to get that power, whatever it takes. And we'll be talking about that, how already Jordan Peterson so eloquently points out how one of those ways to get a society to crumble, where it's coming from, we don't know. Who stands to benefit from it, I don't know either. But it's an ideology that's very flawed, and it's Marxism. And I have no problem if anyone wants to come on the show and debate if Marxism is better than another system of thinking or another ideology. I have no problem with that. I would welcome it. And I think that would be so good for people to at least hear the discussion, right? But Jordan Peterson has been in the education system as a professor. He's a doctor. He's a psychologist. So he also has been a professional in that field. And now he's a personality, basically podcast, has his own podcast, and is able to articulate his experience with this ideology and what it is doing to our society very eloquently. And if somebody dismisses the arguments he's making, I'd love to see a debate. Anyone who wants to go head to head with him, I'd like to debate somebody, but it'd be even better to see them debate him, because as far as I can see, he's spot on with all of his observations of what's happening in our society and where it's coming from. And now he's under attack from those very same people, right? So why do people have a problem with him? Is that a conspiracy that people are really trying to get him to, to shut up? Why don't they encourage him to keep talking? If it was so wrong, he would be making a you-know-what of himself. And the other side would say, look, the guy's obviously a crackpot. Let him keep talking. People will see. But we don't think like that in our society. The other side will never want someone else to expose them. And that's not conspiratorial. And again, we'll have more about that later on in the show. I'll prove every point I just made now today. So it's very timely. Truth is suppressed, not to protect the country from enemy agents, but to protect the government of the day against the people. And I would even take that, not conspiratorial, but as we move into a global society, there are some of our politicians that are moving our country into that global realm, into the new world, right? And so they're not very transparent when they're talking about this with citizens, and to get elected, they know it's not very popular, but they have said it very publicly, and we'll have that coming up later on, how our politicians are selling us out to the global interests, and who's behind that. Well, it's pretty clear in some instances who's behind it. We don't know all the players, but we do know a lot of them. People stand to gain by global initiatives, and never be surprised of what people are willing to do for power. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely, right? So and money. So power and money are the two motivators for people, and as long as there's good and bad in everyone, like ebony and ivory, there's good and bad in everyone. That's Stevie Wonder so eloquently put it. As long as there's that, there's going to be people that are going to not do so nice things to other people. It's just not going to stop. And then there's going to be people that see it and want that to stop and want to make a fair playing field and play nice in the sandbox. And there's going to be the other kids who say, I don't care if it's yours, I want it, and I'm going to play with it if I want. And they're not going to play by the rules. And it just is what it is. As long as you have a society with good and bad people, right? I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think that's fact, as far as I know. Miles says, if we question the government and their policies and bills they pass, they start labeling the questioners far right, extremists. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. It's easy to throw that conspiracy word out whenever you hear something that, there's a lot of conspiracy. People are still convicted of conspiracies today in courts of law at high levels. It's a pretty common thing. If you want to do something bad, it's conspiratorial in nature usually, because you're going to try to not make it so transparent. If you want to do something wrong, you got to keep it in the dark. You can't let people know about it, and you got to involve others so that way, oh yeah, you're going to tell on me. If you tell on me, I'll tell on you. And so then it involves a couple people, doing something to make it happen, which they should all benefit if they get their way. It's not that hard of a concept to grasp, really. And our society's riddled with it. And I think in positions of power, I think it's become an epidemic. And I think it's definitely a cancerous thing throughout our society that needs to be taken out somehow. I'm not saying how. I don't know. I think it just takes a lot of good people to do something and start trying to do something, and then we may have a good result, right? It's not a mystery that people in power, even in our own backyard, don't have their constituents' best interests at heart. If I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, and say I don't have any proof to back that up, just sheer averages would say, if you have a good and bad person, you're not going to have only good people in power. Like, that's just insane to think that. Only good people with the best of intentions, just wanting to do good things for other people, are in powerful positions everywhere in the world. Imagine making a statement like that. So if it's not, and there are some bad actors in there, and the few of them got together over lunch, hey, the golf course, the private club, said, hey, you know what? We really don't like these other guys. We could really benefit from this, that, and the other, and then that's, they form a group, they form a think tank, they start making policies that affect other people, so that way they benefit from it. That's what we see everywhere. It's running rampant in our society today. And once one gets in somewhere, they bring their friends in. It's like, hey, I'm in. I got in, man. I'll get you in too. And it happens on good levels too. Like if you're good and you want good people around you, you're going to do your best to get good people around you as well. It's basically the yin and yang symbol. It's so archetypal for a reason. Okay, thanks, Stephen. I appreciate that. That's all because you said my conspiratorial, which I don't even think I'm conspiratorial. I think at least I'll explain what I'm trying to say. And I don't think it's dividing. I would like to say that it's, you've been on the show pretty much every show. And so that's uniting to me. And you definitely seem to have an opposing view most of the time, right? And so yet we're able to kind of be on the air every morning together. So I would argue it's the opposite of that. I would say it's more uniting. Okay, so Lynn says, morning from McCarrow. Hey, good morning, Lynn. Belinda, Canada is a country abundance. Why, after 8 years of Trudeau, are we being driven into poverty? That's a good question. Is that conspiratorial? I don't know. Are the food bank shelves bare in Sudbury? Are 17,000 people out of 170,000 people using the food bank here in Sudbury every single month? Is that conspiratorial? Are we seeing things getting better or are we seeing things getting worse? And who's accountable for it? I'm just saying, who is? Someone needs to be accountable somewhere for something. And if you absolutely trust everything someone always says, I think that's dangerous. I think you need to ask questions of things and get to the bottom and not be taken advantage of. My daughter's a great example of that. The other day, we worked out a deal with her and for something financial. And she graduated and made sure that she asked for something for her graduation. And she said she was going to pitch in a certain amount and whatever. And that was great. And we were working out the financial of it. And she said, Dad, don't think you can take advantage of me. She thought my wording, like I was wording up to how we're going to do this financially because she was going to pay a certain portion of it and whatever. And she thought I was going to try and manipulate her so that she would end up on the raw end of things. That's my own daughter who does trust me and love me very much. But she looked me in the eye and she said, you can't take advantage of me. Don't think you can make a deal. I know how much I owe and I'm not paying 1% more. We made a deal and don't try and get out of it. And so I really appreciated that of her. I think a lot of times we become doormats for other people and you give our power away to others in many different ways and forms. And it's doesn't serve us very well or serve anyone for that matter. Brian says, freedom makes a huge requirement of every human being. With freedom comes responsibility. That's Eleanor Roosevelt quote. Thanks, Brian. Wonder if he was a conspiracy theorist. Okay, so Denise says critical thinking is needed every day. Stephen says our politicians are selling us out. There's no room for nuance in that. Can't you see how divisive that is? Okay, but what if it was true? So if it was true, and so me not to be divisive, I'll just say, well, just let them walk all over us, use us as doormats. So in order to show they're selling us out, that's the end of the show. So pay attention to that and I'll back it up with some stuff. How about that? I'm not just going out on a limb and speculating. Espanola, noon, the library drag queen library time. I sure hope people show up to stop this. That's Denise. Oh, that's today at noon. I didn't know that. Okay. There may be one or some bad actors, but it is so broad to say our politicians are selling us out. Okay, let's just say maybe one is. So let's just give it, maybe there could be one. And if there's one, who is it? Who's selling us out? Maybe not all of them. Maybe there's 2, 4. Can we put a number on it? But to say we know something's going on, let's get to the bottom of it, I don't think is conspiratorial, and I don't think it's divisive. It may be for them. If they lose their job over it, I think that's, whatever. But I think that's needed. If someone's selling out the people that voted them in some specific way. So many comments coming up, guys. I just wish I could say them all, and I don't have them on my screen in front of me. But Monique, good morning. Good rising. All. So Stephen, you say, who's accountable? Find out and bring it as the news. Well, that's what I'm going to do today, for sure. So stay tuned towards the end of the show. Now, for some headlines. Let's see, checking in with Sudbury.news, where that's your Sudbury news aggregator to check out all the latest Sudbury-related news in one handy-dandy location, Sudbury.news. It has the best of CBC, CTV, Sudbury.com, Sudbury Star, all in one convenient location. And you can see it here on the screen. So, ceremony, sovereignty, and settlement are top of mind for many at the Robinson-Hury Treaty Gathering. The 3-day event features workshops, presentations, and traditional teachings, in addition to discussions about the ongoing renewal of the relationship with the Crown. As we know, the province of Ontario and the Canadian government just made a bit of a contribution for not adhering to treaties that were made over the years in the amount of about $10 billion. So one of the things at this gathering, they're going to be discussing ways to use the $10 billion that they'll be receiving from Ontario and the federal government. World Suicide Prevention Day event planned for Bell Park. Suicide Safer Network event claims to promote hope through action. The theme of this year's World Suicide Prevention Day. That's going on at Bell Park. And I wonder if the people from MAID will be on hand to educate people. I'm not sure. That's sarcasm, by the way. My wife tells me to make sure that I tell people when I'm joking. Not even a laughing matter, however, so I'm not sure how that fits in. It's a sad joke, put it that way. Sad but true. Okay. NOSM, the Northern Ontario School of Medicine Staff and Faculty Union, confident it can reach a deal with medical school. The president of Northern Ontario School of Medicine, Faculty and Staff Association say he's confident that the union can reach a deal with Northern Ontario Medical School, which has campuses in Sudbury and Thunder Bay. So there you go. A lot of striking going on over this last year. Sudbury's Dina Morrison, a champion for children, unfortunately has passed away. She has served as a trustee since 1998 with the school board, Rainbow District School Board, when it was created even. Condolences to her and her family. Condolences to her family and friends. Adults can earn high school credits through Rainbow Board. So if you're over the age of 21, they have a variety of options at the Adult Day School. Something worth looking into if you want to get your grade 12. Okay, so let's move it over to Sudbury.com here, where they have the stories to start your day segment, and they have a few stories that they're highlighting here. I'm not sure why that is, but it is. Let's see if, here we go. Living conditions like hell. Ontario Ombudsman reports on pandemic long-term healthcare inspection failures. You know, when the pandemic first started, it was hitting long-term healthcare facilities, more, and that was definitely a problem. Now they're going back and looking at it. At the height of the first wave, a staff person at the Orchard Villa long-term care home reported to the provincial government inspector that, quote, there is no staff to feed and care for residents, and that living conditions are like hell, unquote. But at the time, ministry inspectors did not enter homes. Again, this particular staff member says, so there was little, or so the government says, so there was little extreme external oversight as homes struggled to meet residents' basic needs. The Ontario Ombudsman wrote in a report released Thursday, without eyes on the ground, the ministry's inspection branch was so out of the loop that it wasn't aware that there were staffing and personal protection or protective equipment shortages at the Orchard Villa as the outbreak was worsening and residents were dying. At the end of the month, the Canadian Armed Forces came in. Remember that? To stabilize the home. 70 residents died there in the first wave. So this is great that they're going back and they're looking at how they handled the long-term care homes with the pandemic. I do also think we need to, as a country, go back and really unpack how we handled the whole thing as a country as well. I think we definitely need to do that. And I think the National Citizens Inquiry, is that the name of it, did a good job of doing that. Very little publicity on that citizens inquiry into it, but that's a really great place to hear how we handled the situation. So update on the Domtar situation. Domtar decision to shut down Espanola Mill took Unifor rep by surprise. And that's the thing, right? How many people saw this coming? I know the word around Espanola was, don't worry, they specialize in a certain kind of paper. They don't feel that this particular mill is going to go under due to that. But, when I heard that, I said, there's still a chance that it can happen. It was up for sale for quite a long time. Domtar's decision to indefinitely idle its Espanola pulp and paper operation took Chris Presley by surprise. The president of Unifor Local 74 was ushered into a meeting with plant officials at 9 a.m. Tuesday morning and informed of the news. A corporate release hit the business news wires shortly afterwards. Presley said, absolutely not, when he was asked if he had any advance warning of Domtar's decision to idle and begin winding down the pulp and paper making operation this fall. He also said it was completely out of the blue. The decision, announced September 6th by the South Carolina headquartered forest products giant to mothball the mill for more than a year, will impact 450 jobs in Espanola just from the mill alone. That's not all the jobs of people that work, that supply the mill and work, as third-party organizations at the mill. The mill is the town's primary private employer. Presley said the move could cripple the community that's hosted a pulp and paper plant since the early 1900s. Beginning as the Spanish River Pulp and Paper Company, Domtar acquired the mill during the takeover of E.B. Eddy in 1998. So here we have the example of globalization. There are some good economic aspects of what we've already had in globalization. One is the concept. The concept is this: one country does a good job of manufacturing one specific thing. Like, let's say a country specializes in computer chips. Is there a country that does that we know of? I don't know. That's a trick question, actually, because it's not really a country per se. It's Taiwan. All right, so Taiwan makes all the computer chips almost. And what happens if Taiwan has a problem? Then the world can't have computer chips. So other countries, they all specialize in certain things, and then the global economy can thrive because one country does it cheaper and better and faster than any other, and then that's where all those supplies are made in one area. And then, so that's it in a nutshell. It's oversimplifying it, but that's globalization. Now, another thing that happens is these companies, it's like a monopoly game. They go out and buy and buy and buy. And what happened here, this company acquired another company. And so because of the regulations of competition regulations in Canada, they were told they can't own as many plants as they do. They got to get rid of some. So places like Dryden and Espanola became on the chopping block because that's the lowest hanging fruit to get rid of for these companies, right? Obviously they'd made the decision to get rid of it. So there's reasons why they did that. If it was a booming money-making thing that was going to help their bottom line, more than likely they would not have let it go. So globalization is scary in those ways. So let's say there was just a company and it wasn't part of a big amalgamated global whatever, and they were able to at least have buyers. That's a problem with not being a global player, is you don't get any buyers because you're not part of the team. You're not part of the group. So you can't find people to buy your product. You need to be part of these big conglomerations. But let's say they did. Let's say they would never shut it down because it's their only source of income. The company is of itself. That mill makes its own money. So why would they shut it down unless it was, not making money and going bankrupt like some companies do? So we'll have to see here. Will the government step in and try to do something like they've done so many times with, let's say, Algoma Steel in Sault Ste. Marie? That particular plant's been on the chopping block for many years for many reasons. We'll have to see. More on that to come. We'll be talking about this for a while. So, as part of an ongoing criticism directed at the city of Greater Sudbury, Ajax-based Road Surface Recycling, the company that was doing work on the Kingsway that has that machine that's basically supposed to save a city money by just taking up the existing asphalt, ripping it up, crumbling it up, whatever, heating it, reusing it, and then putting it down, packing it down. So this one machine just goes along and does one-stop shopping with ripping up the old and putting down the new. Great, innovative product, I would think, or machinery. But apparently, Sudbury will be having none of it. Recycling has, so the company has targeted the city's stockpile of old asphalt as an environmental catastrophe. The city yards on Frobisher Street off Falconbridge Road have been left to, in their words, to leach toxins into your soil and water, contaminating the land and affecting wildlife. According to the company in a recent post to social media, these and similar comments have also come directly from Road Surface Recycling Vice President, Technology and Research, Frank Krupe, after the city ordered his company to cease operations on an asphalt recycling pilot project on the Kingsway in July, following public criticism by Road Surface Recycling. The city released a damning third-party report in which the company's work was cited as failing to meet various requirements. In the midst of this back and forth, is there anything behind Road Surface Recycling's criticisms regarding the Frobisher Public Works yards? I don't know. Sudbury.com is starting speculation here. They are definitely conspiratorial journalists. Them darn people asking questions. Could there be anything behind Road Surface Recycling's criticisms regarding the Frobisher Public Works yards? This is a bona fide journalistic operation here in town asking a question. Is there something behind the accusations from Road Surface Recycling? And will we get to the bottom of it and find out if indeed the asphalt that we have sitting around on Frobisher is leaching into the soil and contaminating our water supply? We'll need to look into that. Maybe they need to get a third-party company to come in and assess that, And I can see why this company's doing that. It's kind of a tit-for-tat thing, obviously, right? So they're saying, oh, yeah, you're going to do that to us. Well, I'm thinking you have a problem with what you have going on. We know, because we've been there, what's happening behind the scenes, right? So speaking of that, let's just dive right into our deep dive today on asking questions. Is it appropriate to do that today? Can we do that? Can we still find out things that are going on and hold people accountable when they're not living up to, if they're in public office and they're accountable to people and they're found doing something, let's say criminal or ethically not cool? Can we get to the bottom of these things and hold them accountable? Or will the attack on free speech quell that and make it very hard to do that? Dr. Jordan Peterson is at the heart of free speech fight with his Ontario College of Psychiatrists. that they are trying to mandate him to have re-education, and the courts agree with the college, and so he is appealing that and going to the Supreme Court. This will be a landmark case to pay attention to, because whatever they rule on will affect your future free speech, and there's already so many things that are affecting it. Anyways, Jordan Peterson talking about what has led to this. Is it entrenched in a Marxist ideology, wrapped up and repackaged as postmodernists, and all in the guises of equity and treating each other with fairness and all of the making everything about race and identity and religion, not so much, but that's going to start, and gender identification things, and just put everybody in camps, divide everybody up, and you have to belong to a certain tribe. It's a collectivist idea. Everyone's put in groups. You're not an individual. And so Dr. Peterson will end this will end our series with this particular interview that he's had a number of years ago on this topic. And we'll be back with more right after this.
Oh, they don't say anything. It's not even the social conservatives who won't say anything. It's like mainstream liberals who won't say anything. Well, as soon as so now the journalists are censoring themselves. They've already told me that. The politicians are censoring themselves. It's like, what the hell? What's going on? And and what's really awful about it is it's a very small minority of people who are basically producing this movement forward. It's probably no more than about 5% of the population. So, and the other thing that's so interesting is if you push back against them hard, they just fold. I can't even get the social justice types to debate me. They won't do it. Now, they don't believe in debate, so why would they debate? They only believe in power. But like when I went to Queen's University to talk to the law students there about Bill C-16, from what I gathered, all of the law professors were invited to debate me. Now think about it. I'm not a bloody lawyer. I'm no law professor. I'm talking about legislation. Like, a good lawyer should have been able to come out and just have twisted me into knots and sent me home in a cast. And they couldn't find a single bloody professor to come out there. So Bruce Pardy, who's a professor, had to come out and play devil's advocate. So there's no debate there. There's no discussion. So this small minority, they're well situated. They have a philosophically driven agenda. They're motivated personally by resentment and power. But there aren't that many of them, and they're bloody cowardly. And if you face them down, they'll run away. So I would say we should face them down before they continue to wreak the kind of havoc that they're already wreaking on our society. And we could certainly start with Kathleen Wynne and her coterie of radical postmodernists. So we should chase every single liberal, every single provincial liberal should be taken out of the Ontario legislation in the next election. That would be a good outcome. That would be a message. It's like, don't muck about with the structure of the family. There's a start. So, yeah, well. But the thing is, people are afraid. So the conservatives won't even come out and be conservative. So one of the things I've talked to them about, and I think I talked to 5 of the people who were involved in the leadership convention, was if you guys are afraid to be conservative, you've already lost. You're done. Like, you're just playing out an empty game. And they are. That's the policies they're pursuing. Patrick Brown won't come out and, like, what the hell? Kathleen Wynne, she should be hanging on with one finger. If that woman had an ounce of integrity, she would have resigned when her popularity fell below 10%. But she doesn't, and no one will take her on with regards to that. So it's not good. I can tell you one thing that I've experienced. If you're not happy with the kind of policies that your company is putting in place, or the bureaucracy that you work in, or your government, or any of those things, if you're not happy about it and you wait, the probability that you'll become more unhappy is extraordinarily high. If you come out and say something early on, you're taking a risk. But if you say something and you don't apologize and you hold your damn position, you can chase them back. That's been my experience. You don't apologize, and you don't soften what you have to say. But as far as I can tell, you've got a choice. You can wait around until things get worse and you're weaker, and you can wait till you're taken out, or you can stand up now and say what you have to say with a reasonable chance of success. That's how it looks to me.
Okay, and then again, that interview was done quite some time ago. I think over 3 years ago. And so he was making references to who was in power at that time in Ontario and the leadership there. We all know what happened there. The Conservatives actually did get in. And is it utopia since that happened? No, it's not. There's changes in some of the philosophies. Obviously, there's not as much of a hard movement with the Marxist ideologies that do exist mostly, at least outwardly, in a lot of the parties that move more to the left side, which would be now Liberals, which are extremely on the left, NDP even more, and Green, and they're the left parties. If you want to talk a left and right thing, liberal, communist, we just got to call a spade a spade. NDP, if you look at the definition, they're a communist party, should be called the Canadian Communist Party. Green Party, sure, same idea, but in the guises of saving the planet. We'll give you peace and safety, but give us your freedoms and we'll make sure you have a safe planet, right? So someone who's hell-bent on doing this wrote a book before COVID-19 hit called The COVID-19, The Great Reset, and his name's Klaus Schwab. And how he wrote a book before it even happened, we don't know, but it's a mystery. I guess he has special powers. But you can see here it is, the COVID-19 Great Reset. You just listen to him talk for a while, and we'll just catch him in the middle of his talk, see what he's talking about. But it's always about there's changes in the world coming. Companies are going to do what he wants them to do. Governments are going to work along with him and his think tanks. He has the idea of how to reshape the world through the Great Reset, which he already had before the pandemic even came out, which makes me question some things like, how did he know this? He must have a crystal ball. Anyways, there you go. Close.
Have a well-established social safety net. Then second, so it's a social contract. Second, it's a decarbonization of the economy to protect us against let's say, an environmental virus. And here we will publish tomorrow, by the way, a report which shows clearly that there is no contradiction between taking care of nature and particularly creating the need to create jobs and to invigorate the economy.
So Klaus Schwab is going to keep us safe. His idea is to keep us safe because the environment is the thing that's not safe right now. So he has solutions that are going to keep us safe as a world, right? And as we see, we also have one of our own leaders, Justin Trudeau, who loves the idea of the Great Reset so much that he came out during the beginning of the COVID-19, right at the beginning too, and he knew all about this somehow ahead of time. Again, I don't know where they get these crystal balls from, but and this is what he said to the UN.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Is essential. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Last week, our government committed to investing more in international development while supporting developing countries on their economic recoveries and resilience.
Again, right? So it's time for a great reset for our good, going to keep everybody safe because there's things that only they know to keep us safe from, right? And why is Justin Trudeau saying Reset. Like, where did he get that from? Did he wake up one day and he had a book that he wrote called Great Reset too? He got the word from somewhere. And I think this comes from a long time ago. A fellow here, let's see where it is. I think it's here. And he was the president of the United States. And he said this many, many years ago that, these future people were going to be saying this. He's kicking it off. Here you go.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
So I say we must...
Peace and security and the rule of law. So that's George Herbert Walker Bush speaking at just to the American people. And it reminds me of something here. And reminds me a lot of this.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
And so, yeah, that's very iconic. That's the one of the Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, one of my favorite Star Wars of all time, because it really does. Hollywood sometimes has a lot of truth in the things that they have, and in this, they obviously have. In the name of security and peace and safety, this particular person was basically doing an illegal, this Sith. He was a Sith, but he was masquerading as the Emperor. Anyways, so he took over the government and was promising in wartime that he was going to be able to do something that was going to keep everybody safe, right? And there's a particular person who was the agriculture minister for Dwight D. Eisenhower, and he met with the leader of Russia many, many, many years ago, like might have been the late 50s, early 60s. And he had this to say to him about communism and about the idea of this Marxist movement in the United States and in the Western world.
I have personally witnessed the heart-rending results of the loss of freedom. I have talked face to face with the godless communist leaders. It may surprise you to learn that I was host to Mr. Khrushchev for a half day when he visited the United States. Not that I'm proud of it. I opposed his coming then, and I still feel it was a mistake to welcome this atheistic murderer as a state visitor. As we talked face to face, he indicated that my grandchildren would live under communism. After assuring him that I expected to do all in my power to assure that his and all other grandchildren will live under freedom, he arrogantly declared in substance, "You Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright. But we'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you'll finally wake up and find you already have communism. We won't have to fight you. We'll so weaken your economy until you fall like overripe fruit into our hands."
So there you have it. So Ezra Taft Benson, who is the agriculture minister, or agriculture, what's the word in the States? Anyways, it's similar to the minister in Canada for Dwight D. Eisenhower. He met Khrushchev, who was the leader of Russia at the time, and that was a conversation they had. And as you can see today, what we are having is, and if you understand politics, we're going more and more into that. So if we're talking about conspiracies, we're talking about naming names at least, or these are credible people in powers positions of power coming on record and saying conversations that have been having that the people did have plans for North America to be communist. And so who's behind that? So what's going on? Did they just stop all of a sudden and change their minds? And if they did, well, okay, who changed their mind and when did it happen and all that, right? So it is what it is. You need to be looking out for it because it doesn't come without a price. It has already been paid. And so you can keep it. It's a lot easier to keep it than it is to get it back. Anyways, that's Sudbury News Talk for Friday, September the 8th, 2023. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Sorry I couldn't get your comments up on the screen, but I'm grateful that everybody were having a robust conversation on the feed. And so have a wonderful, glorious weekend. It's going to be great. Jazz Festival's going on in Sudbury. Also Valley East Days. So you got your pick of things to do this weekend. So stay safe. Have a good one, everyone. And stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. We'll see you same time, same place Monday, God willing. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.